Hello, before we get into this, I'd like to say a massive thank you to you guys at home for 50 subscribers. I didn't think we'd make this by the end of the year, so thank you to you guys. If you do like what's coming up in the video, be sure to smash that subscribe button. We are now trying to hit 60 subscribers by the end of the year, and it would mean the world to me. Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing something a little bit different. I had a comment in one of my previous videos, the international preview, talking about England's goalkeepers, and I thought I'd address that today. I know it's slightly different, and I know we haven't got an international preview and an international video for, well, until March, I believe. So I thought I'd look at it now whilst players are still playing, whilst everyone is fit, and we can look forward to the next preview and the next set of fixtures and see who we should take to Euro 2021, who we should try out and who we should play. So the essence of this video is I'm going to start one, drop one and bench one. It's a common thing on like football Twitter and around on there. So start one, drop one, bench one. But instead of dropping one, that's going to be my third reserve keeper. So like we had Jordan Pickford, Dean Henderson and Nick Pope, that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be choosing my three who I would take to any international fixtures. But first of all, we are going to run down who exactly could play for England, who has played in the past or who is in good enough form and deserves a call up. We will start this with England's current number one, which is Jordan Pickford. Jordan Pickford is a very experienced England goalkeeper now, whilst he still has a tendency to be aggressive. He's a little bit mistake prone. I say a little bit, he's very mistake prone and can make rash decisions. He is England's number one and he is experienced at a World Cup, which always benefits him. He plays at least 30 games per season for Everton in the Premier League, and that is really why I believe he is the number one at the current moment in time. They're sort of his positives and his negatives. The second keeper I'm going to start with, I'll just start with the three current England keepers. The second one is Nick Pope. He's currently number two for England, as you say, backup goalkeeper. He got 15 clean sheets, I believe it was, last season. He's a very consistent performer for Burnley and has been their number one for quite a while now. He had a brief moment with Tom Heaton where they were interchanging because they are both good goalkeepers, but Nick Pope has fought his way into the team and he's very reliable and doesn't make many mistakes, and that is one thing that I think is a really good thing about him. He doesn't make many mistakes and he does make the correct decisions more often than not. The third choice keeper for England currently is Dean Henderson. A positive is, well, I guess you could call this positive, he used to play for Grimsby Town. That's the weird fact as well. He used to play for Grimsby Town a few years back, which is just weird for me to think about. But anyway, he is Manchester United's backup goalkeeper, which is always going to be a negative. He doesn't get the game time that the likes of Pope and Jordan Pickford do, which is, for him, it must be very frustrating. He is a good goalkeeper and he had a fantastic season last season, and it must be frustrating for him. But you can spin that positively and say that because he trains with Man United, trains with De Gea, Romero if he's still there, you can spin that as a positive and say he plays alongside two good goalkeepers and can learn a lot from them. So it's the way you look at it, and it could be argued as well that last season he was second best, if not third best goalkeeper in the division. He has had that experience in the Premier League and he's only got one season behind him, but he did play very well last season, so that one's up for debate still. Now we're moving on to keepers who, they could be former England keepers who could have a comeback, or they could be England keepers or English keepers who haven't actually made an appearance yet. So starting off with these is Alex McCarthy, who is Southampton's goalkeeper. I think he's been a little bit unlucky not to get an England call up so far. He's been a very reliable and consistent performer for Southampton, who currently are sat in, I believe it was 4th, 5th before the last game week. So he's been a consistent performer, 4 clean sheets so far this season at the time of recording, because they're yet to play this weekend when I'm recording. I think he's a good shot stopper. I think he's got a lot of good qualities about him. The real negative, the same with Pope and Henderson, is there is very little top level experience. And another negative is that McCarthy is already 30 years old. He's been a late bloomer, so that could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. But when you look at goalkeepers such as Henderson, Pickford and Pope, they are a lot younger, and that is one thing that doesn't hold McCarthy back. But I'm sure Gareth Southgate will be thinking, if I can get Pickford up to a good level, then I don't need McCarthy. But I do think he's definitely worth a look at, because he's a very good goalkeeper and he's a very consistent performer as well for Southampton. He is one of their best players on his day, and he's awesome for fantasy footy points. I guarantee I've jinxed that for this weekend. But the next goalkeeper is a former England number 2 who featured at the World Cup. Jack Butland has had a very strange career. He was always hyped up. He had massive links with Chelsea, all these different big clubs. And yet he seems to still only be 27. He feels like he's been sort of that age for so long, and he could be yet to hit his prime. So definitely worth a look at if he can get back into I believe he's at Crystal Palace now. I could be wrong on that. I'm sure I'll edit it if it is wrong. But I believe he's at Crystal Palace because he got moved away from Stoke. And so that's the big drawback of Jack Butland. He's currently number 2, and the fact that he's not played in the Premier League or played for England since the World Cup, and so he's lacking top level experience at the minute, and he's lacking top level form. So if he can push his way back into the team and get some good performances, get a few clean sheets under his belt, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Jack Butland return into the England squad, because on his day he probably is up there with the best England goalkeepers. The next goalkeeper I've chosen, who could potentially fit into Gareth Southgate's squad, is Tom Heaton. Tom Heaton is currently at Aston Villa, having moved away from Burnley because he was Nick Pope's number 2. That is really the big drawback of Tom Heaton, and of course the amount of injuries he does pick up. But he is possibly the most consistent performer out of the whole group. He's a really, really consistent shot stopper. He's not bad with his feet, and he is very impressive every time I see him play. I always think he is very much a standout player for Aston Villa, or whoever it is, when he is playing. And he has got lots of experience, because experience comes with age, and I think that's another important thing to bear in mind when choosing an England goalkeeper. It can't just all be on form, because otherwise you'd end up with Dean Henderson from last season, Nick Pope and Alex McCarthy, and that maybe isn't the best choice of goalkeeper. The next goalkeeper I have chosen is a little bit left field, you could say. I've gone with Ben Foster. Ben Foster is 37 now, he's been around the block, he's played for Manchester United, he's played for Watford for many years now, and the reason I've included him isn't because he's still at the top of his game, is because he's still playing a lot of games. He played for the past 2 seasons for Watford, he has played a lot of games for Watford, and I think he's still very much I hate to use the phrase again, a consistent performer for them. I think he'd be great in the dugout. I think he's got a lot of experience behind him, and maybe could talk to like the younger goalkeepers and give them a little bit of experience and a bit of knowledge, because whilst he's not played at the top level very often, he does have the experience of playing against lots of different players, lots of different types of player, and that's always a benefit in having in a goalkeeper. The negative, as I said, is he is 37, so there isn't much of a future there. If he was to be selected in my 3, he would just be there for the experience, and maybe for a Euro squad, taking 2 goalkeepers and then a Ben Foster could work. Someone who's got a lot of experience but who isn't going to play, but then you use up one of your 23-man squad. So that's something to bear in mind. It'd be interesting to see if I've missed anyone, so if I have missed anyone, let me know in the comments. And before we jump into the final bench 1, start 1, drop 1, make sure you let me know in the comments who you will start, bench and put on the reserves for the England squad. So just let me know, and it'll be interesting to see who everyone goes for. My starting goalkeeper for England would be Nick Pope. I can hear Gareth Southgate shouting at me already, but Nick Pope is possibly the best goalkeeper we've got, and there is no doubt about that. He plays the most games, he's consistent, and I don't really understand why Gareth Southgate hasn't given him more opportunities in this team. I know he likes Pickford, but I think Pope is everything Pickford can be, and probably more as well. That's what you've got to bear in mind with this. I'd love to see how he does do at a top level, how he plays at World Cups and high levels. And if Burnley get relegated, there is no chance that he is staying there. Someone will come in for him, whether it be an Arsenal or whoever, someone around that area. Even Everton, I could see Everton going for him and replacing Pickford. So that is why I've started him. I think he's a really consistent performer. Shown by last season getting 15, 16 clean sheets. Not many goalkeepers can do that. That's partly down to Sean Dyche. His team always sets up very well defensively, and having a solid, consistent performer of Nick Pope behind you, that's always going to benefit you. My second choice keeper, who I would be benching, is Jordan Pickford. Like I said, Jordan Pickford is very mistake prone, but I think he does offer something, and I think he can be on his day really good on the ball. And I think that's something that Gareth Southgate is trying to influence in this England team. He's trying to get us to play out from the back more, and I think he probably is better than Nick Pope at doing that. But I think the mistakes mean that you cannot start him, and you can have him in the squad, but you can't start him. And that is why I've put him as my number 2. I think he is a fantastic shot stopper, and on his day he really, really performs well, and he can make the difference in the team. So I don't think he'd be bad to have as a backup goalkeeper if Pope got injured in the World Cup or Euros or even just any international break. I don't think it'd be bad, but I would be starting Pope over him. I do like a goalkeeper who has confidence in their abilities, which obviously knocks out the likes of Joe Hart out of my decision making. But Jordan Pickford needs to find that line between confidence and cockiness. And when he finds that, he will be a fantastic goalkeeper. And he just needs to improve on his decision making as well. Sometimes it's absolutely spot on and you praise him a lot, but like when Van Dijk got injured, that was poor decision making. There's been a few times already this season where he's made poor decisions. Fortunately, nothing's happened to him, but he has made poor decisions, and he's been very lucky that his defence in Everton have been quite solid this season, especially in the first few games. Look like a real rock, and they've been able to rectify those mistakes, and he's been able to rectify the mistakes himself. So that's why he's my number 2, just because of the cockiness. He needs to make sure it's confidence and not cockiness, and the amount of mistakes he tends to make. And with England not having the greatest defensive partnerships at the minute, Maguire, very mistake prone, Joe Gomez, mistake prone, and we're having to rely on the likes of Connor Cody and Tyrone Mings, who aren't very experienced. I think Jordan Pickford and Maguire and Gomez could spell disaster for England if they were starting together. And my reserve goalkeeper is going to stir a lot of debate and a lot of talking, but I'm not going to be choosing Dean Henderson. I know, I can already hear everyone saying Dean Henderson's one of the best goalkeepers in the league. Yeah, I get that. He is one of the best goalkeepers in the league, but he isn't playing. He's played maybe 1-2 games all season. You shouldn't be in the team if you're only playing 2 games so far this season. Alex McCarthy is who I have chosen. I think, like I said, he's had 4 clean sheets so far this season. Could be 5 after I've recorded. Obviously, I don't know that. I'm not going to make an ass out of myself again. Alex McCarthy is a very, very good goalkeeper. He can do a job, and I think he'd be a great backup to the backup. If Southgate and Pickford fell out and Pope got injured, then he'd be a consistent performer, and I don't think people would be worried to have him in goal. I think people would be like, well, at least we've got someone who knows how to play well in goal, won't make rash decisions, and will do the best he can for the team, and won't be cocky, he won't be overconfident. He will just play as he does at Southampton, and I think that's what he'll bring to the team. Like I say, with Henderson, it seems harsh to leave him out after such a fantastic season, but I think he needs to move away from Manchester United. I know it's every little boy's dream to play for a Manchester United or a Liverpool or a Chelsea, whoever, but Dean Henderson isn't going to get game time in front of David De Gea. That is just not happening. David De Gea is one of the best goalkeepers in the world, and I think Henderson, if he really wants to play for England and really wants to push forward, I think he needs to move away from Manchester United. Like I said earlier, maybe to an Everton, someone around the top 6. It's a little bit unfortunate actually that Chelsea have just gone and bought out a keeper, because I think he could do quite well in a Chelsea side. I think it's a bold and controversial decision to not include Dean Henderson, but at the end of the day, for me, playing 2 games a season isn't enough to warrant a position in the squad. And I think even Ben Foster has done more this season to warrant a position in the squad, because he's at least playing. That's what you've got to bear in mind. I prefer to have someone who's playing match fit, match sharp in the case of goalkeepers, and can make saves. Well, that concludes this week's video. I hope you've enjoyed. It's a little bit different. Be sure to stick around for the Premier League preview on Friday night. If you do like what you see here, be sure to smash that subscribe button. And like I said at the beginning of the video, thank you for 50 subscribers. It means the world to me. If you know anyone who would love to see these videos, then make sure you send them a drop a like on the video. And if you have any other ideas for videos, be sure to drop them in the comments as well. I've been Redgate-Large. Thank you for watching.